November 11th, 2017. A call arrives to 911 at 7:37 p.m. Central Standard Time. A guy is panting over the phone, exclaiming that his girlfriend has been murdered. She apparently was stabbed in the torso and neck. Help! Please! My girlfriend has been stabbed and she isn't responding! 911 arrived, but they couldn't help her. She was already dead when they got there. However, as first responders, they had a pivotal role in securing the crime scene. I need a perimeter around this house. I need officers guarding the perimeter. Nobody goes in or out without my stamp of approval. You can also please get me a log and a clipboard so that I can track who has access to the crime scene. Also, take care of the boyfriend. Be sure to take his testimony too. I want you to write down every single word he says. Alright, are you ready, boys? This is a murder.
The CSI handled the case well. They did initial walkthrough and made sure not to move a single piece of evidence an inch from where it was. In addition, they did an accurate sketch of the crime scene, getting accurate measurements and labels for every single item in the room. Photographs were taken of these items, and the photos were logged by angle and place where they were taken in detailed manner. After that, the CSI collected everything and put them in individual, airtight evidence bags, labeled them, and made sure they were sent to the lab in order to be tested and examined.
The victim is a Caucasian female, late 40s, stabbed multiple times in the torso and once in the neck. She was killed by the wound in her neck. I estimate the time of death to be around 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock last night.
So what do you have for me?
Oh, okay. The victim is a Caucasian male, late 40s, stabbed multiple times in the torso and once in the neck. She was killed by the wound in her neck. I estimate the time of death to be around 5 or 6 o'clock last night. Toxicology came back clean, and I have her identity in this folder right here.
3, 2, 1, action.
I was just working on the report. Well, I found that based on the footprint, your killer wore a size 7.
What about the hair found under the victim's nails?
That is an interesting piece of evidence. I've searched very closely and actually found the follicle attached, which means the hair was ripped out of the perpetrator. I am processing the follicle DNA right now to use gel electrophoresis. With gel electrophoresis, I can determine if our suspect's DNA matches the perpetrator's DNA.
Ah, yes. Gel electrophoresis. I know how that works. So first you have to isolate your DNA using salt and detergent solutions to break up the cell and nucleus membranes. Then you introduce restriction enzymes into the solution so that you can cut the DNA at your restriction sites. Then you perform a process called polymerase chain reaction so that you can have millions of copies of your DNA sample. Once your agarose gel is ready, you have to load the DNA samples into the wells in the gel. After that, you have to add the radioactive probe into the solution. Next, you apply a voltage across the ends of the electrophoresis apparatus. The smaller DNA fragments will move farther and give you distinct bands. Finally, the probe will help you visualize the DNA bands on the agarose gel when you develop the nitrocellulose paper.
Don't forget that you have to denature the DNA into single strands so that the DNA bands look bolder on the autoradiograph. Here's something else. There was blood all over the floor of the crime scene and the sweater. Although erythrocytes do not contain DNA, we can obtain DNA from the leukocytes located in the blood plasma of the victim and hopefully the perpetrator. It will be really hard to extract enough blood to examine leukocytes, but I do not think we will have to because of this. This right here is a strand of fiber that we found on the floor near the deceased woman's body. If we can confirm that the fiber belongs to what the perpetrator was wearing that night, then we can propose that the perpetrator killed the woman with that knife. Since this was the only fiber found at the crime scene, we cannot use destructive tests, but we can use Harrison microscopes, polarizing light microscopy, and infrared spectroscopy to determine the relationship between the two fibers. I think infrared spectroscopy would be the safest bet because it is a confirmatory test for the identity of both fibers. But guess what? There's a few other links in this chain that are missing, and I will tell you all about them after this commercial break.
Do you have a disappointing baby daddy?
Yes!
Well, you come to the right place. My name is Dr. Lee, and I can assure you that that man is the father of your baby. All I need is your DNA, your baby daddy's DNA, and your baby's DNA.
Thank you, Dr. Lee.
Alright, tell us about the secret link.
It's all about the knife found at the crime scene. A standard kitchen knife, the murder weapon, was so sloppily handled and disposed of. The perpetrator forgot to scrub off the fingerprints. So my investigators and I are going to dust off the fingerprints and then develop a dactyloscopy.
Alright, while our lab tech here performs that, I'll tell you how it's done. Dactyloscopy relies on the analysis and classification of patterns observed in individual prints. Our fingerprints are comprised of different characteristics such as ridges, enclosures, and bifurcations, which all make up the minutiae. These are not able to be seen clearly without aid. Fingerprints can be classified as whorls, arches, and loops. Whorls are the most common fingerprint type, while the least common type is arches. The two types of fingerprints that can be left behind by an individual are latent and visible. Latent fingerprints are prints that cannot be seen unless they are revealed by certain techniques. In our case, we used dusting to reveal our fingerprints. Visible prints are ones that can be seen with the naked eye. They're usually able to be seen due to residue on the fingers. Substances like blood, dirt, or makeup can result in visible fingerprints. I think we've done a pretty good job so far. Considering all of the evidence, I think we can get a really good picture of the perpetrator of this crime.
Keep going.
I think it's time to blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Blooper reel.
Okay. What do you have for me?
Okay, this is
Why are
working.
you filming me?
I don't know. What are we doing?
Wait, hold up. Cause
Oh my
Three.
god.
3, 2, 1, action.
I was just working on a report.
No, but you
Time
have to
down.
record music now too.
Okay.
You,
It's your.
3, 2, 1, action.
Do you have a disappointing baby daddy? Well, you come to the right place. My name is Dr. Lee. I can assure you. I can assure you of that. That man is the
3,
father.
2, 1, action.
Well, you come to the right place. My name is Dr. Lee. I can tell you that I'm sure that that man is your daddy's.